So just wanted to give an introduction or perspective about why and what is sort of the background behind this series of talks called Urban Farming Journeys. This is like a talk series that we're going to have over the next 4 or 5 months, where we are going to sort of document and try to learn from practitioners in the field who have been working with various aspects of urban farming. We who are hosting this happen to be from very different backgrounds, but with a common shared interest in urban farming. So the people hosting this, just for a quick introduction and for making connections in the future, is the student club of ISA Pune, the environmental the club that is invested in environmental issues and in a lot of work around locally, especially in Pune. We are called Prutha, and Vikram Iyer, who's my co-host for this interview, is the coordinator of this club, is one of the coordinators of this club. And Prutha works on various aspects involving students and community members and faculty members at the Institute ISA Pune, where Vikram and I are both located. We work with sensitizing our community in the reasons why we need to sort of take care of the environment and our space around us. The other aspect of this journey, or the webinar, this series, is the TESF, or Transforming Education for Sustainable Futures. And this is a grant initiative hosted by the Indian Institute of Human Settlements. And Deborah Datta and I, Amrita Hazra, we are part of this sort of larger picture of transforming education for sustainable futures. And Deborah, who is located at the Institute of Rural Management at Anand, and I am located in the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research in Pune. The two of us have co-written a grant to be able to use and learn from aspects of urban farming, and to be able to incorporate, sort of distill out the most significant features of this process by doing interviews with urban farmers in India, and prepare a handbook which anybody who has any amount of space in their home, any budget and any time, whatever time they think is possible, should be able to grow some food. Okay, so that's sort of the goal of this grant that we have written. So TESF is the organization that is hosting us and allowing us to do this. And the Urban Farming Journeys is a set of talks that we're going to have, interviews and talks that we will have over the next 4 to 5 months. So it'll be great to see some of you, join us and become part of this group going forward. That's sort of the background of us who are doing this event. I will hand this over to Vikram Iyer now, who's my co-host, and he will introduce our speaker to us before we launch into the interview process. A couple of housekeeping things. We're going to have a 40-minute interview where Vikram and I will ask Samir some questions so that we have a background and we get a good feel of where he's coming from and the sort of the core features of what he wishes for us to learn. And once that is done, we will open this up to all participants for asking questions. While that the interview is happening, we request you to be muted. And after the interview of 40 minutes is done, you can unmute and ask your questions, or while the interview is happening, you can type your questions in the chat box. That is sort of the model that we're going to follow. And of course, we are going to keep a copy of this event for future reference that all of us can use. Okay. With that, I hand this over to Vikram.
All right. Right now we welcome Mr. Samir Bordoloi here for the talk. Samir is an Ashoka Fellow and a farmer who works with both rural and urban peoples in the northeast of India and helps them reconnect with farming as a process. And through this, Samir wishes to try and make farming exciting or make farming uh, something that is worth the consideration of youth who are both rural and urban in the Northeast. So Samir trains people in workshops. He delivers talks, and he has worked with many schools in the Northeast and helped them set up kitchen gardens and other uh, farming and agriculture related activities that help people to take charge of their own food in some sense. He has founded an organization called Spread NE. And with that, I invite Samir to take the stage, speak.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Amrita. And thank you, Deborah, for bringing a farmer here from the Northeast region to talk about the journey, what we are doing, and how we are trying to sustain rural and urban youths in farming, and how we could glamorize farming. This is something which I'm working here. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be part of this discussion. This is totally a farmer's perspective. I'll be speaking what we practice, what we have learned from the big book called Nature, and how we go ahead. So I think this will be a discussion which will also enlighten me also to go ahead. And it's a big motivation for me to come here and speak in front of you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Samir. I really appreciate your time and your efforts in this. So maybe we can begin. And Vikram, is it okay if I go ahead and ask?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Samir, we were curious about your initial foray into this space. So, how did you, first of all, how did you decide to be a farmer? And then how did you decide that it is important to go beyond what you were doing as a farmer and educate, especially educate at a level where you're educating young people who can then go on to take this on over a long period of time? So you're really sort of hitting the ground for very young, sowing the seeds in very young minds. So just your perspective on, or your story on how, and, just what motivated you, why are you here? Why are you in this space?
Okay. My first introduction to farming was my father's beautiful garden. He was an administrative officer, and his service was more in a very beautiful place in Arunachal Pradesh. You know the scenic beauty of that place, and we were posted there as in our childhood. And he was a very good gardener, and I would always be a part of his beautiful garden. And that was my first introduction to how we grow our own food. Then I ended up studying agriculture in Assam Agricultural University. And after that, I got a job in the corporate sector. I was working for the Tatas, promoting all the Tata products which we have in the R&D section in the tea gardens of Assam. And then suddenly moving around and going more rural, deep inside the villages and working with the small tea growers, I got attached to this very beautiful culture, which is called agriculture. Soil, agreement, soil, and the culture. How we culture it is the scientific definition. But for me, it is soil and culture which makes our beautiful villages. And then suddenly it came to my head that why everyone, we talk about farming, my professors who teach me agriculture in the university, all of us who make big policies on agriculture, all the farmers who do farming, why somehow they don't dream their kids to be farmers? Food is the biggest thing which we need. Nobody sleeps without food. But why we don't dream our kids to be farmers? That is something which I felt. And working in this Northeast, I also felt that soil and culture, I told you, makes our beautiful village. That is agriculture. Agriculture makes our beautiful village. And when our young guys and girls go away from the villages, I feel that culture itself disintegrates of the village. So it's very important to conserve the villages. We have to have our youths in our villages. Can I share my screen so that I can show you some pictures also, like how we started and we're doing this?
That will be very, very nice, Samir. Thank you.
Yeah, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I ended up forming this organization called SPRAY-DANI, which is Society for Promotion of Rural Economy and Agriculture Development in Northeast. And most importantly, we have created a space for the young people of Northeast in my food forest, which I have created now with the action of so many young people whom I call the Green Commandos. So SPRAY-DANI, generally we are working on creating young people into Green Commandos. I'll be talking more about that later on. We are looking at how we make our farmers more, we hear this word called Atmanirbharshil, but how we become self-reliant, how we don't depend on the whole inputs that are pumped into the life of the farmers from the seeds to the feeds, the whole value chain, how we more become dependent on our own resources, how we manage our resources. We have to think about how we create some beautiful model villages and how we bring farm food tourism also to adapt to the farmers' income so that we don't destroy the beautiful happiness index which we have in the villages. And also we try to attract students and young people to this beautiful profession called farming, where I myself prefix farmer to my name because I feel so proud of that, because like the doctors and the engineers and the professors, everybody is proud of their profession, but I feed them all. Why should I feel shy? I should be proud. That is the message which we want to take to the young generation, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. But yeah, growing our own food is fun. It's so again healing. So it's something which can be so stylish also, because it's very important that we glamorize farming. And also we try to create some community wellness centers through the action of the Green Commandos. This is how we create the Green Commandos actually are social entrepreneurs. I will come to how I came to this term to use farming or the farmers as Green Commandos. So when you ask me, Amrita, about the whole journey, I have to tell you that this is something where I also evolved with all the learnings and unlearnings which happened in the journey. Right? It's from the agricultural university, learning all the conventional technique of farming and all the high-tech system of farming. Then going to the farmers, exploring more in the rural villages, trying to learn the very traditional knowledge, wisdom about agriculture, which is lying among the very unsung heroes, the farmers in the villages. I found that it is always a learning process for me, and also on the way, it is also a process of unlearning. And I believe seriously, sir, like agriculture is both science and art. So it is how you more go deep, you get absorbed on it, and how you learn about that. It was more after studying agriculture, I started. I suddenly I felt like that I should leave the job, and I was not interested in doing that corporate job where I have to go to the farmers and pump in chemicals to their life. Like I have to do R&D of how much of, see, tea is something in Assam which is a monocrop, and so much of chemicals are pumped in the name of this monocrop which is grown, and the small tea growers, people started growing small gardens in the villages. My job was to do more R&D to pump in, okay, more insecticides, more fungicides, which I was doing for the corporates. Then suddenly I felt that it is not something which I want to do. I left the job, and at that time when you leave a job, so it's very difficult to convince your own people also, okay, what you are going to do and how you're going to. And then if I tell them that I want to become a farmer because I have been meeting so many people, so it is also yeah, tumko itna agriculture. Why did we make you study agriculture to just become a farmer? You could have become a farmer like that, right? So and then suddenly one day I felt like that, okay, when I studied agriculture and I want to be close to the farmers, I started a plant health clinic. The first thing which came to my thought was, even the animals have a doctor and a clinic. Humans already have doctors and clinics and hospitals. Why not a plant health clinic? So in my native place in Assam, which is Jorhat, I started a small plant health clinic. And I just started that, and I kept a microscope, some disease specimens, some pictures. I decorated it with all the all the plants, whatever insects come to the plants, beneficial insects, everything. And I was expecting people will come to me and I'll write prescription to them. And I'll be also going to the villages and working with the farmers. To my surprise, that time, I'm talking about 2007, 2008, when people were not so much aware about that, okay, I have to go to a clinic to write something or take care of the plant, and I have to go to a plant doctor. So I had a 2-stroke Suzuki Samurai bike with me that time, and I just took that bike, took a backpack of some organic inputs, and I started going to the villages. And when I started going to the villages, if the villagers don't ask me also to help, I will jump into the field and I just ask them what you are doing. And started narrating them something about how we can go organic and all. And then I found that whatever I have learned in the university is so theoretical. And me, who have learned 4.5 years of agriculture in the university, when I went to the village and I was interacting with the farmers, I felt that the practical knowledge was very little to just talk to them also, because I was feeling, okay, they were more superior. They have got such a beautiful knowledge. And then I started staying in the villages. I started moving in the villages, and I found those very talented farmers, the elderly farmers, who became my gurus actually. And the traditional knowledge, wisdom, how in the hills of Nagaland, in the hills of Manipur, in the hills of Arunachal, in the hills of Assam, the valley, when it is like flood, how these farmers are striving, and they are manufacturing their own solutions to the problems they have. Other things come later, but when they face it, they manufacture the solutions. It is something which attracted me, and it became a passion to move around. So I became a backpacker. So I started moving around. I went to different part of the country. I went down south and I learned organic farming practices, Center for Indian Knowledge System, Chennai, become in lots of internship program. Went to Punjab to work with Punjabi farmers, because in Northeast, I heard that Punjabi farmers are very big and they do so much of like big farms and all. I went to Maharashtra, and the journey led me to realize also the impacts of this whole kind of big farming which we did. I learned about the farmer suicides. I learned about the whole conspiracy behind food, where people try to change our local food wisdom into something where the whole value chain is in their control. So this realization led me again inside the villages of Northeast to go more deeper to the life of the farmers, where we conserve their traditional food wisdom and we grow with them. And those remote villages where the policies and subsidies have not reached, there lies the most highest happiness index, which is very slow and but very beautiful active living, which attracted me, and I started working with that. I learned those things and now I have to practice it. When I went to my university to talk about organic farming that time, it was my professors only telling me that now it's not a time to confuse the farmers, because you cannot feed such a big population with organic farming. Research was also very less. Tamil Nadu Agriculture University had lots of researchers that time on organic farming, but other universities, we had very less research. So the techniques which I have learned from the farmers, the traditional knowledge, I was trying to validate it, way to validate it. Then I was going to the farmers, I was talking to the farmers, they will understand the impacts of the chemical farming or the conventional farming. But the risk-bearing capacity in the grown-up farmers was very less to change. They understand, but they don't change. One day I decided to land up in a village school. So I was actually, I was talking to the farmers, I motivated them, they listened to me, but they don't change the practice. So one day I got frustrated and I told that, okay, I'm not going to talk to you, I'm going to talk to your children in the village school. So I landed up in a school called Chitralekha Siksha Vikas Mandir. It is near Jorhat. And I met the principal and he was very kind enough that, okay, it is something which I also want to try, he told me. And I told them that, why don't we try involving kids in doing that? So the first thing which I did was like how to make vermicompost. That time it was my I acquired lots of knowledge on vermicomposting. And then I started teaching kids how to make vermicompost. So my bookish knowledge told me that, okay, I have to have a tank for that. I have to have a concrete tank to make vermicompost and all. So we were not being able to get big tanks. So we decided to reuse this whole styrofoam box, which comes with feces to Assam, and which again pollutes the whole environment after we use up the feces. So we picked up those boxes and with the kids, we made them learn about how to make vermicompost. Now I found that these are my soldiers who turned this school after 1 month of our work. This whole school and 150 kids practicing in the village, they had a product of vermicompost, which was branded by the name of their school. And the urban growers, the connect, the market, we just did some programs where I took the kids outside. This picture is of Diwali time when people were like cutting the banana pseudo stems to decorate their home. So with those Chitralekha students, what we did is we did an awareness program where if you look at the truck back, there is a demonstration going on where the kids in different places of the cities, they demonstrated how to make vermicompost out of those banana pseudo stem, and then how you utilize the waste after that. And then we found that, okay, there is a market, because when the story was created that the school kids are trying to reuse the styrofoam box, they are trying to do something organic. They're learning their science book, because in class 7, you are teaching them about organic and chemical fertilizers. You are teaching about the earthworm. So they are doing it. So it became an activity-based learning model for them. And the product also was branded. And this school, this whole students were from like farmer community. So we started also getting 10 rupees per kg of the vermicompost. And it was like after 3 months, we found there is a mini ATM being installed in the principal's room, where the kids can, like they used to bring 2 kg, 3 kg, 5 kg from their home, and they used to sell it to the urban gardeners, and they were earning for that. So when they were earning, we thought that we are not going out of the textbook, because social science, you teach them about that time in 6, 7, 8. You teach them about what is profit, what is bank, what is business. So I thought this is where we can put the seeds of entrepreneurship in their mindset. Later on, with my friends, we started Farm to Food Foundation, and then we just made it into a big program as an activity-based learning model. We went to 150 schools, first 40 schools, and then 150 schools through the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan mission in Assam. And then we made these kids to grow their own nutrition garden, to make vermicompost, grow their own nutrition garden of local food. Midday meal program was there, but the amount of money the school gets, they were hardly being able to give them some good vegetables. But we could give the kids the experience of growing their own vegetables and consuming them in the midday meal. So this whole one activity-based learning model, and we could reach more kids. And the most important thing what I got is the farmers whom I was trying to change them into like how you come into organic practices. Now, once the kids started doing that, that became my beautiful extension tool, because when the kids go and do it, mothers take it up. And I remember starting a program called Parivartan in a school. And then we started this program into Parivartan Janani, because mothers came and they told you, okay, now we want to learn how to make compost and vermicompost from the kids. And the kids were teaching them, kids were going to the village, kids were teaching them, and they could earn some money out of that waste which they make into. So it is something where we were putting the seeds of making bioresource into bio-wealth in the mindset of the kids, right? Simultaneously, my courage was increasing, right? I can take the risk, I can go to the kids, and these are some, what I found is like they were more understanding than all the people, because we grown up people, we talk about environment, we do many things. But these are people, when you teach them, they take the action, they do it. And they do it so beautifully that it turns into a very beautiful story where we can motivate more people. So I started this in the colleges. So first in Dibrugarh, Lahwal College as a private college where the principal was again interested. The whole journey is networking of like-minded people and taking it. We didn't have any grants. We didn't have any money for the program. It's more about networking of like-minded people and taking it, advocating it to some policies of organizations or the government to take it forward, right? So we went to this college. We went to Bosco Institute. With this right side picture is a commerce college in a small town in Assam called Golaghat. And everywhere you look at the lower part, it's the product of the college. The commerce students, they also learned how to make vermicompost, vermivas, and then they were making it into a product and they were selling it. So the seeds of agripreneurship, which I wanted to put on the mindset of the people, because my problem is when I go to the village, I find that sometimes education takes my kids away from farming. Because after class 5, after class 10, there is no good school in the village. So the kid has to migrate out for studies. And once the kid goes out of farming and the village, his education, we give them education where we only give importance to some white collar jobs. And we don't think farming is something, a profession, or farming can be something which can be so beautiful. So they don't want to come back. Many times with the kids, the farm family has to migrate to the cities and they become agricultural laborers to support the education there. So I thought that it's very important in rural colleges where the farmers' kids, rural schools where the farmer kids study, we have to introduce farming like that. The journey continued, and now in the research forum on my own university, the question was coming, okay, whether organic farming can be big or whether you can feed the growing population, or these are some sporadic small thing you are doing. But now it was a challenge for me to prove it bigger. So what we did is we started a farm with a friend in Jorhat. It's called MD's Organic, and we went it into a bigger way. And we started producing more than 30 metric ton of vermicompost per month. And how we just link it to the market. And this whole units where the big farms were made, we are connecting them to the initiatives of the children where they were converting their mothers also to go into vermicomposting and creating small community enterprises. So the big farmer and the small farmer, linking them together, we were creating a beautiful market. Because this farm, which I'm showing you now in the picture, when we started it, this farm bought earthworms which are found in the, we were not going for exotic earthworms which are suggested in the books. We were searching for some surface filler earthworms which are found in the nature. And we found this very beautiful banana pseudostem earthworm, which one of my kid came, because we were struggling because the university books told us that we have to go for Icenia foetida or Eudrilus to make vermicompost. And then this kid comes one day this kid comes to me and tells me, sir, I found this banana pseudostem earthworm and I tried to give it in my box and these are so beautiful granules coming out of that. So that's how we started doing it. And this kid started supplying those big farmers with those earthworms. So like it's not doing something good for the environment. You have to also suffice it with how you can also sustain the livelihood with that. So I could create this big farm. Urban farming was important. So we created this whole organic farm in Jorhat. And then here, up till this time, my knowledge was also more about like if brains are there, I have to use plastics and all. I'm just telling you the evolution, because now totally it's something different which I have learned from nature. So at this point of time, it was more high-tech organic farm where we started micro irrigation, also how we save the water. We use some plastics, we use bio-intensive raised beds, or permaculture methods, and we made into this urban farmer. But my challenge here was that I could create this big farm, but when I take my small farmers to motivate them inside this farm, they are getting a dream. But when they go out, they were not happy. I was feeling they were not happy because some amount of money or some amount of investment is again involved in this kind of organic farming. Then I started thinking about how I can think about the small farmers. Just excuse me. Peter, can you give me a glass of water?
I think Vikram, isn't your question for Samir right on these lines?
Yes, very similar. True.
Yeah. Because,
You should ask him, yeah, because it's so very much related. I know you were curious about this.
yeah, because you have asked this journey of 15 years, and I am trying to just put it in a very, it's very lengthy, but I'm trying to make it short. Okay. Then this whole thing, when I started thinking about how we can make our farmers more self-reliant and they feel good. So it was something where we have to think about when they come to a farm to learn something, they have to go back by doing something which they can do it with their own resources. So then when I started spray renning, and I landed up with a group of farmers who wanted to save a 30 acres hill near Guwahati, which was subjected to continuous cutting of the hill because they wanted to fill up the land in the city. So this group of 30 farmers, they wanted to save this land, and they came to me and they told me that we want to start something here in farming, and we want to conserve this land. So I got my place to something was going on my brain that how we make it more natural, and we started growing food with the forest, not destroying the forest. We started growing food with the forest, and thus we ended up creating a forest where we coexist with other wild animals also. And it's not only growing food for us, it is growing food for all the creatures. The conventional learning in the agricultural university, learning from different part about organic farming, different places. South India, it was more like cow-based organic farming system. Then coming to Northeast and then finding that, okay, we don't have so much cows in hills, but we have so many resources inside the forest. And this whole journey, and just after that landing up here, I realized that, okay, my religion as a farmer is to give you very good local food, which grows like the forest in the forest. Now we just create seed bombs, we throw them, we plant some very local food in the forest, and they grow into our immunity building food. This is the realization that, okay, nature has only the power to do something from nothing. We just as farmers have to assist it. I understand that, okay, it is the local food wisdom and the conservation of the local seed is my freedom. Because if I change my food habit and I grow something which is exotic, I cannot go organic. It's highly input demanding crop. And another thing is that it is not healthy healing food for my people for whom I'm growing, even for my kids, our kids, we have to think about. So saving the seeds. And then I found there's a very good market for this. Just we started organizing some melas inside the forest of the local food. And I found the demand for this food is so high. And there is no rocket science in growing those, because for growing a yam, I have to just go to the forest and put the yam there. It will grow by itself. I don't have to remove the weeds. And they grow like wild. And they give us superfood, like immunity building food. And for me as a farmer, they gave me low volume and high value products, which also sustains my livelihood. So this is the mantra which you use. And the coexistence, because elephants now come to my forest, they eat my elephant apple. And when they eat, they throw some elephant apple. We just cut it into pieces, sun dry it, make it into a herbal drink, which sells at 5,000 rupees a kg in the market. Wellness food industry is $500 billion. The elephants come and eat the tender part of my bamboo in the forest. And first we thought that it breaks the bamboo, but then we found that, okay, it is making me accessible to pluck the very tender leaf of the bamboo, which we cut, dry it in sun. Our women farmers, they dry it in sun and pack it as a bamboo herbal tea, which sells at more than 5,000 rupees a kg in the world market. Low volume, high value. The broken part of the bamboo, we bring it, we make it into bamboo biochar fertilizer. Again, in the organic farming world, it sells at 700 rupees a kg. So the animal and we are coexisting. Livelihood is also balanced. Nature is also balanced. There is something which I now call as my compassionate natural farming model, where we coexist. And that is how we ended up creating this beautiful center called Spray Ready Farm Learning Center. And now we are working with lots of youths whom we bring here and train them as green commanders. Thank you, Vikram. I know it was long, but I had to cut so many things to a short answer which I could give you here.
Right.
No, this is very, very informative, Samir, because it gives us a good overview, and for everybody who's attending to be able to, hone into questions that they might want to ask you. So Vikram and I have only a couple of questions, but I think it'll be great if we can have a more informed discussion. Vikram, do you want to ask Samir something, and then we can open it up after that?
Yeah, just a couple of small questions. Again, you pretty much covered everything I wanted to ask. Okay, so I'll frame this with respect to the point you already mentioned about, how you had like a very high tech or organic farm, but then you sort of changed your approach by making it a food forest, for example. So what would be your advice to someone? Because both of them are organic, right?
Yeah.
So how does one decide what kind of approach to take?
Yeah.
If someone's wanting to do something like this.
Yeah. Vikram, this is something where we have to look at the resources around us also. Like how we very sustainably manage the resources around us. So it's very important that when I look at my place, it is more about all the bioresources it was more into conservation, like how we conserve the very beautiful happiness injects, how we conserve the resources which we have, how we conserve the local food products we have, and go into this. But we have to also go for like for example, rice is something which is a staple food, and we need it more. So I think zoning of this approaches is very important. Nowadays, it is very confusing for us farmers also. See, we started with integrated nutrient and pest management. Then it came organic farming. Then it came like zero budget natural farming. Then it is again natural farming. Whenever I go to national level, like seminars, I find there is tug of wars, and farmers like me also get confused, like what is going on. Like again, I am coming up with like compassionate natural farming. So names are actually nothing. It is upon the farmer who have to think about how I manage the resources. But when I think about managing the resources, first thing, the organic thing has to happen inside me to think about that the soil doesn't belong to me, it belongs to my kids. And I have to return it to them as it is, right? So the approaches, for example, if I want to, we are growing rice. We have farmers who are growing rice in the plain areas, right? Where it is not hilly. But it is not only rice, it is not only monocrop rice. We are trying to make it incorporated with other plantations, like in the rice fields. Our farmers used to make narrow pathways to go to the other fields. What we are doing is we are like broadening the pathways, and we are growing bananas there because most of the women farmers work in the rice field, and they are working in like full sun in the sunny days. It's very, very difficult type of working condition. If you go to a rice field at 1 p.m. At a day, it is like boiling water. You put your legs inside, like it is full kind of boiling water. They walk there. So the walking condition, monocrop has to be stopped. So we just incorporate banana. Again, under the banana, again, we grow some medicinal and herbal plants. We just said loving, like spices. We just mix it, make it again into a food forest model where we are not growing only the rice, but we are growing other things also. So I think, Vikram, zoning of the crops is something which we have to do. We have to manage the resources. And most importantly, we have to think about when we go for some crops. I think if we go for like cultivation of big plantations and cash crops, it has to be the diversity. The whole basis of actually today's farming should be the diversity, how diverse you are. So that is why we are coming up with this food forest model wherever we are being able to do this. There's so many beautiful small sporadic like forest areas in the villages. Some might be bamboo, some might be other trees. I'm trying this with a friend in Rajasthan. I'm trying this with a friend in Karnataka, where we are being able to do this. It might be cashew. And if you go see the cashew canopy and go inside, you get this a thick mass of compost, which you can bring in and make it into a zero tillage raised bed and grow other crops also with that. So the resource management is something where we have to do it, and this zoning, and I will I was going to show you this green commandos. You can just see the slides how we bring in youths to the this whole kind of farming, where they come to our farm, they stay in our farm, they do the farming. But what I was going to tell you with your question is, I'll show you a slide. See, making a specialty product out of this whole diverse thing. For example, this is roselle, which simply grows. This is a local crop which our farmers keep the seeds, and they just throw the seeds and it grows like a forest. Now this petals, they just sun dry it and make it into a very beautiful herbal tea, which again become a low volume and high value crop. And the marketing is not a problem for farmers as, because social media is so active. It is not the product, it is the story you created. Women farmers going to the village, just doing a food forest of roselle with broom cultivation they do, or banana cultivation they do, or the paddy cultivation they do, and then bringing this into a specialty product which improves their livelihood, right? Like bamboo tea, how you just make, we have weavers in our villages, how they make beautiful bags to pack it and take it to the market, make it into a low volume and high value. So if you are reducing your some kind of crop which you are growing more for your food, so you are also increasing the buying capacity of the farmer by making him environment friendly and giving him some more earnings to other low volume and high value products. Bio inputs come up. So like I told you about the biochar, the vermicompost, the compost, that can be something where we again add up the income of the farmers and we sustain them. Because you are talking about the risk of, okay, going organic, is it risky or is it possible everywhere? So the thing is, we have to look at the diversity, we have to look at the resources, we have to take care. This rice, I was talking about rice, and this rice, it grows in the jungle. The tribal people here have the habit of throwing it in the mountain. They don't need even water. We don't need water for growing this rice. And this is such a tasty and very healthy rice. We grow them for the elephants now because they love it in the forest. And then we grow sporadically for our elephants also. We also consume, they also consume. We don't need any water, rain-fed. So this kind of planning has to be done. The zoning of the products has to be done, what we are growing to in which place. And also is important that how we manage the natural resource management. Could I justify your question, Vikram?
Yes, I think so. So it needs to be very local environment based, like tailor made to every place.
Yeah. See, agriculture is not static. That is the biggest mistake which we have done, because something which is made into a policy sitting in a laboratory cannot be pan-India. I cannot think about that everywhere I can create a food forest. It has to be based on the traditional food wisdom. It has to be based on the traditional knowledge wisdom of the people, how they practice it, the ITKs, indigenous technical know-hows, and how we bring in science now, and how we mix it together. And we create some social entrepreneurs, like I'm doing the Green Commandos, because they are all people who know science. So this is a photo where they're making seed bombs. They're just making seed bombs, and they're going to the villages and teaching them just throw it. So it is important to make them learn about this, and also like make them absorb this. I call my camping as farm for soul camping, where I bring them. It is not only agriculture gives not only us food, it also gives us so much of life skill, love, compassion, patience. Everything is there when a kid just puts a seed and it becomes a fruit. When he eats that own grown food, that is actually nutrition. It is not something fortifying rice with some chemicals to make it iron rich. It is about how you mix your small amount of rice you have, how you make the yams and all the iron rich food. God has given us everything to us. We have not given respect to those food that God has given us. We have tried to create it. And this creation is only because farmers are being trapped to become dependent on the corporates from seeds to feeds, so that we buy every input from them. We are never allowed to grow with the local knowledges. So there are so many barefoot scientists in the villages. We have to give them more power to think about what they want to decide. What is, because my neighbor's field is different for me. I cannot talk about region also. Even my neighbor's field is different to me. Agriculture is not static, it is dynamic. So it's very important to, for our country, we have to think about how we conserve our local food wisdom, how we cultivate them locally, wherever, whatever is possible, how we consume it for nutrition, and then how we make community enterprises to commercialize it into the wellness food industry, the surplus. And the consistency is so important, because I found from my own experience also that now whatever we are doing with nature, growing food like nature is showing us profit. My green commandos, 725 of them, they are sustaining because we are more dependent on the nature from seeds to the fields. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Samir. Samir, so there's a question. I think it's time to open it up also for other people to ask you questions. And there's one question from Vishnu Agnihotri. Vishnu, would you like to unmute and ask your question? Because I know you've said you have to leave at 5. So if you want to, if you're still around, if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Samir. Thanks for this very inspiring story. A very basic question which people must have asked many times. So the question is that can this kind of natural farming and organic farming and small farms, can they completely replace the industrial farming model which is feeding the world today?
I see with the whole, this is something which is everywhere, like you told, everywhere people are thinking about this, because people also are thinking about, we have to feed such a big population, right? Every time the population is growing, and how we feed that. I think that every part which has been developed by the human brain has got its own importance, right? But we have to be careful now, because we have to think about how we go with our nature, with all the change in the climate, all the change in the whole cropping calendar. Now the cropping calendar doesn't exist. With so many things happening in the environment, with our kids becoming so dependent on some kind of food which does not give them the full strength which they, or the resistance which they, you or the earlier generation used to have. We have to think about, we have to make a very beautiful shift to this farming. I am confident by doing that, okay, natural farming or this kind of farming which we are doing, we can feed the population, but it also involves that we have to have the habit of growing our own food. We don't have to leave the habit of growing our own food. I know concretization, I know the place for growing food is growing less. So I think there is also a link when it will be all balanced, and natural farming and organic farming can also feed us all. When we think about that, okay, I don't have land for growing, but I can go to a village. I can befriend a friend, befriend a farmer, and ask him, and together we can grow food for us. One farmer can grow for 5-10 families. We have still so many farmers left in our villages, small marginal farmers. They're struggling to exist because of this whole model of farming, industrial model of farming, where the input cost is very high. The farmer has to go out of this input cost. Farmer has to be more reliant on the resources which they can utilize by themselves. They can manufacture their own inputs and grow us some good food. It is possible, but it will take some time. So at this moment, we don't have to detach from the things which the human brain has developed, but very smartly, as Homo sapiens, we have to go ahead thinking that what is good for us. If natural farming and this kind of farming is good for us, then let us teach our kids to grow their own food, It might be a rooftop, it might be a balcony, it might be your kid going to a village and befriending a farmer to grow food together with the farmer child and making this world beautiful.
All right. Thank you so much, Samir, for that answer. I'll now ask anyone else if they'd have any questions they'd like to ask. The floor is open. All right. In that case, Samir, since we don't seem to have any
I
answer.
think there's a question from Deborah. Vikram, I think there's a.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Deborah,
okay.
would you like?
Yeah, it was more of a comment with connection to what Samir was mentioning, that I heard from someone say here that like people have family doctors, they should also have family farmers. And that's a connection that is very important because food in some sense is a very core part of health. So I did have like a question with respect to like the changes that we are seeing in terms of the agricultural curriculum. It's in last year, where there is an interest now from the state and national agricultural universities to actually incorporate aspects of natural farming or agroecology in the curriculum. So if they were to do that, I'm wondering what are the spaces that are there for organizations like yours to actually be connected to universities? I mean, do you see some possibility for that, where universities also connect to organizations like yours to gain practical exposure? Because like what you said in your journey, like a lot of your learning happened when you actually went to the farm, so learn from the farmers. So
Yeah.
is that something that you see happening now, or what would be your recommendations if they were to really start implementing a natural farming curriculum in the state agricultural universities?
Yeah, there is something very important. Even I was going through this whole like introducing natural farming in the universities. Also, I heard about that there will be a ministry for natural farming. Also, there were thoughts of bringing a natural farming ministry also. But Deborah, what I feel is already the students actually. If I talk about the students who learn in the university, they're already connected to this, because this generation of young kids, they're in the stage like the snake, how it changed the skin. We call it molting to adapt, right? So it is happening with me for last 3 years. Most of the green commandos are agricultural students from the universities. Even lots of vice chancellors ask me, they go to your farm, they pay a fees, they do camping, and they learn natural compassionate farming with you. And that is something I think even the students want to do that. That's why I was showing this whole group I'm showing in the picture is from an agricultural university who come and learn there. So when you introduce it in the university, I think it has to be a move where research is very important on the practices which you are going to take into the curriculum. So I think like my learning from most of the farmers who are practicing it, there are very beautiful stories of natural farming being happening naturally. So documentation of those processes and making the curriculum, I think people have to involve those people who are actually doing it. It's not only again just copy paste technology of the Japan model or copy paste technology of, for example, if I take Subhas Palekar sir's model here in Northeast, jaggery is not zero budget for me. I don't find jaggery here, right? So cow dung. My Khasi farmers in Meghalaya, they don't want to touch cow dung with hand. So it is more again for us. It is again termite hill soil inside the whole forest. So it has to be a pan-India research. How you develop this curriculum and make it into a curriculum which can be taken forward. People like us can be, whatever we have gained knowledge or whatever experience we have gained by doing this, we can share it. I'm doing it in every forum wherever it is possible. Already we have created the center, so this can be a place where the students can be brought in and they can learn it how it is happening. Many people like me are doing it. Many of my green commandos are replicating in different places. So they can be also because I told you it's not static. And what is happening is like somehow I feel that when it comes to developing a technology or bringing it into a policy level or a curriculum, many times there is a race of proving my model. This is my model. This is my model. This is my model. But there is a model by nature. God has given us a model which has to be studied very properly. And this holistic model has to be developed, and that is to be taken to the whole curriculum. And we have to look at how every part of the country is taken care of when we think about we give them because when it comes to curriculum, it will come to a book. And nature is a big book to explore, Deborah. We cannot confine it to a very small natural farming agricultural book. So I think it is to be more experiential learning. In case of natural farming, I will suggest the universities to give them more exposure visits. They're more outdoor learning. It has to be more in the farmers who are practicing that. And it has to be like the university which is in Rajasthan, where the students call themselves Koji. And I'm talking about the Swaraj University. Many students come to my farm as interns, and then they learn it here and they do it, they practice it, they become farmers. Another thing is like it's not again giving a curriculum to become natural farming researchers and professors only. The curriculum has to target to create natural farmers in the country. Right? After MSc, doing MSc in this, I have to think about how I become a farmer. I don't have to think about many agricultural students. When I go to agricultural universities, I tell them that if you, after doing MSc, if you don't dream to be a farmer, somehow you also do some violation with the rights of the human because you are born in an urban space, you get a very good college, you get good marks, so you get admission in the agricultural university. My farmers students, but my farmers kids, they learn in a village school. They cannot be there. Average 65 to 70% percentage students. They want to study agriculture, but they don't get it. But once you get it, justify it. Don't go out of the profession to give a competitive exam or shift your whole career into something different. And you don't. If I have studied agriculture, I have to have the guts to become a farmer. If I am an extension personnel to go to the farmers, I have to have the guts to make my kid into farming. So there is something I think the whole curriculum should be also.
Thanks a lot, Samir, again. I think there's a question from Rakesh Kumar. Rakesh, would you like to ask your question? Samir, you can see it in the chat box if you wish. And otherwise, Rakesh, if you can unmute and ask, that will be the best.
I am the student of ISR Kolkata.
Great,
I find there is no course in ISR organic farming. So I really excited and I really want to do like this type of work. So what would be the strategy I can follow and do like the work?
Okay, Rakesh, I appreciate your interest. So the first thing what you can do is you can just book a seat to Guwahati, come to our farm, stay with. So the first thing is to book a ticket, come here.
Your voice is working, sir. Please repeat.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Samir, we had lost you for like 10 seconds, but you are audible now.
Okay. So what I was telling you, Rakesh, is book a ticket to Guwahati in Assam, come to the northeast, come to our farm, stay with us for 15-20 days and become a green commando and then experience it and then just go and relate it to the resources you have in your villages. And then let's co-create this beautiful thing which we can co-create together. So that is something which you have to learn. And the most important thing I would like to suggest you and all the youngsters present here is that let's explore. Go to the wild, go to the villages, go to the farmers, explore, and just learn. There are so many beautiful things which we can learn, and that is something which gives us guts. You have to have a risk-bearing capacity to shift from a very industrial model to organic, again organic to natural, or whatever we want to do, or a white-collar job to an entrepreneurship or a social entrepreneurship. That guts is going to come when you roll yourself. That's why I call my young people as green commandos, because they have to combat. They have to combat all the fear they have. Dar ke aage jeet hai. So you come here, just see it, believe it, absorb it, and then go relate your resources and start it. That is the way how we can do it.
How can we join with your green commando?
Your voice is coming low. So can you help me, Amrita?
How can join with you? How can I join
Okay,
with
how
you?
can you join Green Commandos? Okay, you just have to call me. I'll give you a number. I will say a number. Amrita and Deborah has my number. You just call me and book a ticket and come here. And then we'll turn you into a Green Commando, right?
Okay.
So
Thanks for
Samir,
that.
actually Rakesh had already emailed us. He had sent an email to Prutha. So Vikram had forwarded it to us that he's very interested, and like we are a very traditional science education research institute right now, where we are teaching the basics, the physics, chemistry, math, biology, but the connect to agriculture or to the field. I think this is the first time I'm hearing from Rakesh that there's actually a course that ISER Kolkata is planning around this.
Okay.
So it's very heartening, I have to say. It's something that is also on the lines of what you are suggesting, that the industrial agriculture has its probably had its space or time, but we have to think beyond that, and we have to take the current situation in mind, that we have really crossed all boundaries of heating up the earth and everything that we shouldn't do. So
Amrita, thinking going past the industrial model is becoming difficult because it is totally pumped in our bloods. But
exactly.
if we think about our kids,
Yes,
we will get the courage to go out of that and go more natural.
absolutely. Yes. Samir, actually connected to what Rakesh was asking. So of course, what you're suggesting and what you also answered, I think, for Vikram's question is, or I think the question before this, which Vishnu asked, which is that this has to be something that is practiced at a local level. Like your answer is not going to be my answer. In Maharashtra, where rainwater is not that easily accessible, and the population density in, say, a city like Pune is much higher than what probably you're experiencing. The expanse that you show in your pictures is not necessarily what I'm able to execute here. So I'm wondering, are there any common principles that you would be able to distill from what you have done, which can be applied, or because otherwise I feel right now what you're showing me looks like a wonderful story, but can I really do it here? I'm wondering. I'm like, none of this is what I'm seeing around me, but is there something, or are there common principles that you feel you can distill from everything that you've learned over 15 years for people like, say, Rakesh, who wants to go back, who wants to do this in Bihar, or for me, who wants to do this on a rooftop in Pune, or for another person who wants to do it in a very different scenario? Are there common principles that you think will benefit us, so that you don't feel directionless? At least there's somewhere to start.
See, the most important thing is we have to think about this diversity. One thing is, like, there has to be diversity. It cannot be a monocrop, or it cannot be only 2-3 crop. It has to be a multi-storied cropping pattern where we create this into a forest kind of thing. But if you have coconuts, you have papayas, you have it has to be high density planting system. And before going there, in some places might be one common thing which we have to do is composting, where it has to go in a mission mode. where we rebuild the soil, we make the water holding capacity of the soil good, and then make it into like different layers. Then water conservation, even for us, we are sandwiched between two very extreme seasons. One is totally drought in the winters. One is like too much of rain in this part of the time. But I have experience in the winter part when it is very drought inside the forest. Also, we don't have any irrigation. We don't have anything. But the plants survive very nicely because there is different height. If you see the picture also background, we have shrubs, we have herbs, we have medicinal plants at the base, we have crops like local chilies, then we have plants like guavas and all growing together with the forest, and we just maintain this multi-storied cropping pattern in the food forest, which can be done everywhere. I was telling you about the experience of Karnataka in Kumta. It's we have made this just in the beach. It is sandy and then only cashew nut, but yeah, with cashew nut we can plant some tall trees. High density planting is one thing which we can go common. Second is like diversity. It has to be diverse crops. Third is like soil management practices like composting, how we do it, how we do more composting in the places where we need it. Naturally happening places we don't have to do it, but in some places we have to do it composting. And then I think it has to be like another thing which has to be the mix, how we mix it, how we mix some crops which can be low volume and high value products for the farmers, so that we sustain a very beautiful livelihood. And these are the some common things which we create this. And I am just now I have started doing farms. I told you in Nokha in Rajasthan, which is near Bikaner, we developed this farm where we are growing now pomegranate. It's like full sandy soil, but we are growing pomegranates, we are growing mangoes, we are growing a very local crop there, which is called sangri, and then we are growing it like a forest, making it more like dense. So high density planting diversity. The first point, soil management practices, which we do, seed bombing, right? When we have the rains, how we go seed bombing and we do it together. So these are something which are common to many places which we can do. Right? Many things I have learned from the other part of the country, and we are incorporating it into the model here. Like that, you can also learn something from here, and we can incorporate it there. So it is all connection, is co-creation of a beautiful world.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Vikram, do you have any other questions for Samir?
Not particularly from my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just going to look at.
And this, I just want to add here. I'll just give you an example of like how the whole community also becomes a resilient community when you do like this, when they grow with their own thing. One of my Green Commando, what we do is in the Green Commando program, we bring them in the farm, they stay with us, they do cooking, and I take them into the forest at night. I call it forest bath, and then keep them inside the forest. I have all the animals and we co-live together. To just give them that insight who actually we are. I told you it's also the soul has to become organic. So when we come back, we just share our stories. One of my Green Commandos shared me a story where he told that they don't have medical practitioners in their village. They don't have a health center in their village. And he could not save his mother, bringing her in a bamboo mat in the hilly tracks in a rainy day. He could not save her. And he also told me, when I went to his village first time, a Bolero Jeep took me there and the driver was telling me, sir, more than 20 kids are born in my vehicle on the way because we don't have a health center. And we were making those beautiful homestead food forest and the Rosella story there. Then it came to my head that, okay, it's not only like this whole way of doing naturally, it brings you so much of thoughts where you can manufacture your own solutions, problem solving attitude in people, right? Which is also a very important life skill now. So what we planned is we planned an agro-tourism for doctors in the village, that we were making those beautiful homestead food forest and all. So I just shared this idea. I was remembering those my old Vietnam War movies which I watched in school, and there will be one Red Cross hospital with bamboo and all. So I was imagining, and I told them, why don't we have a community wellness center where your village is so beautiful, you are doing all natural things, you have got natural food here. You will get a market also, and we give agro-tourism to the doctors. They are having such a hectic time. They will love your village. So we just use social media, and the next day, after 15 days, the villagers called me and told me, sir, already we have made a bamboo made like consultation room for the doctors, which we now we make it into a community wellness center. Bamboos, they have five bamboos from each household. We made it into a community wellness center, and some post in my Facebook, and we invited doctors for agro-tourism. Now this village which didn't have any doctors, now we are getting doctors from Germany also. So what we do is we just give them trails, we give them food, we give them the culture of the village. They take food, they bring friends, and they refer to friends. They come and buy from the villagers, and 1 hour of their day in the village, they give it to the health service of the villagers. So this whole concept is growing now. No funding, nothing. It is all like how we like come together and think about how we solve a problem. So always it is not necessary to stick to the problem. We have to come out of this. Natural farming or compassionate farming or organic farming, whatever name we talk about, it is just growing food which is healthy for us. So let us grow healthy food with a very open heart and think about, let's do it. Let's start it. This 1 hour or 1.5 hour of our energy which we have put in will be very beautiful when all of you who have participated just close your eyes and think about what is your favorite local fruit. And the next thing you think about, when did you planted your favorite fruit? Local fruit. I'm not talking about dragon fruits or strawberries or exotic fruits. I'm talking about that local fruit which you like. When did you plant it last? Just think about why we talk about the climate change. It is in my hand. These are not the conferences which are going to solve. It is me. So what we can do is just dream about your local fruit. If it is like 22, 23, 25, 30 years of not planting your local fruit, collect the sapling or the seed. You don't have space, go to a nearby village, befriend a farmer, plant it. You will get the guts to go ahead.
That's very inspiring and thoughtful commentary, because I mean, usually the idea is that, oh, if such a movement has to happen, it probably requires a lot of money and a lot of organizations. And I mean, I think throughout what you have been stressing is that it was organic in the practice sense, and also in the sense of the community building, where it's mostly been driven by people's motivations, and that is what has sustained it, and that is what is actually propelling it forward. So that's a very I think important point, that many people feel a little intimidated, thinking that, okay, where do we start? And I think what you're saying is that start somewhere, and you will generally find like-minded people to actually seed and grow the movement. So in fact, since you mentioned that you were initially trying to talk to the farmers and that had not worked out very well, so which is why you went to the school, and the students actually were much more open and enthusiastic. So I'm wondering that later on, has this intergenerational kind of dialogue worked out, where now through the children have parents changed their practices? Did you see any of that happening?
Yeah, this is something very beautiful happening actually. Even when I go, what happened is like now I have got my Green Commandos. Even we are starting a Green Commando Junior. First of this month only, we had a very good program where 55,000 school children, we made 1 lakh seed bombs for them. It was like for us, it was like Diwali making mithai. Right, all my interns and my villagers and all our Green Commandos, we made 1 lakh seed bombs. And first of this month, in Meghalaya, they started throwing the seed bomb. And the result is Meghalaya government is now also thinking about technologies like drone to throw seed bombs in the mining areas, right? This is something, and the parents. I have green commandos who have convinced their parents. I have green commandos who have turned the whole village into a model village. They have made the see, I told you this has become my beautiful extension tool, because if I directly go to the village and talk to the farmers that let's do like this, like the policies has made us so dependent on subsidies, right? So even I go and speak to them, they will think, okay, he will give us some free seeds or he will give me something. Expect, because we are made to expect. Where we can create our own solution, we are made to expect. And then if the kid goes and he changes it, so they don't expect, they do it more properly. And that is how Amrita and Deborah, I look at when we mix the science learning in the school with these activities, right? We also know that if our kids come home and they have an assignment or they have to make a model, all parents are involved, right? That we can use it in making the environment good. And when we teach them, okay, now let's go and make vermicompost at home or make a very simple zero tillage raised bed at home, the kid is doing it. Right? The parents come first, they think, okay, this will have some work in the school. They will come like that. But the process is so easy for them and it relates to their activity in their farm. They get absorbed in it. They get absorbed in it and they do it very nicely. So there are so many good examples where they have created very beautiful villages. They have created many like school children. Now my school children are going to the villages and they are training the self-help group members. Even many places, the block officers, they hire my students to train them on those concepts. So like when it is very important when you do some innovations, because most of the young people now do startup. I say startup is something where you need innovation, but if your startup money is also dependent on some kind of institutes or it is funded, then your principle is guided by the principle of the organization which is funding you. Where is the scope to innovate? So first step is you make a model, you create a model, you leave the model, and then you can do it. For us also, it's like our villages. Now we don't go to like offices or we don't go after organizations, okay, give us a fund to do this or do that. We just create the model. Now even if we talk about trainings, government departments send so many people. That is so positive now. They send people to us to get trained in natural farming. But it is not we are going. If we go, then they will tell us, okay, ye de do, wo de do, these are the rules, these are the regulations. But now for us, it is a product. The cost of the product is this much. And now if you want your farmers to be trained on that, we are going to do this. This gives the bargaining power to the farmer, which I'm talking about.
Right.
Right. They cannot be ruled, or the principles cannot change what they actually want to do, which is very suitable for their place.
Sir.
Yeah, Vikram, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so before me, Vibhor had a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Samir sir, so I
Yeah.
want to ask a question, like if in case I am interested in doing urban farming in my home, would you suggest me using traditional genetically modified vegetables, crops to use, or you would suggest me to do organic farming kind of thing in my home or space?
Yeah. I will definitely suggest you to go with your local food wisdom, not the GMOs or not something where you have to buy seeds. You have to take care of everything. I will not suggest you to buy a big hydroponic unit with 15,000, 16,000 rupees to grow a tomato plant, right? I will rather suggest you to go, if you're growing it in a homestead or a rooftop, you will look at that some crops which are very local are more adaptable to that condition also.
Yeah. But the thing is, if I use the genetically modified,
those are quite resilient to pest, and I do not have to invest lot of time in managing such plants or crops. So I would definitely would be easier for me to handle those and get much more reaped crops or benefit. While doing organic farming will require intensive amount of time and dedication of money. So
Yeah.
how would you convince me to go for organic rather than going with my traditional genetically modified crops?
Vivor, right? Your name is Vivor, right?
Yeah.
Vivor, see, first thing is for me and for you also, we have to think about, yeah, we don't have to be so selfish about only growing our own food. Right? We have to feed the other insects also who comes to eat the food. Right? Only thing is, okay, my space is less, so I have to think about, okay, how I get sufficient food for my family. We can balance it. It's not only one crop. I am talking about the diversity. Like when you diverse your crops, even if you are growing local crops, genetically modified crops, they have got that, they're tuned to be like they are resistant to the pest, because there is something which they are made like this, which has also the tendency to be. So when you eat this, then you will be also like you will be susceptible to many kind of weaknesses which should not come to you. But when you mix with the local crops, what you do is you can get sufficient food out of that, because see, God has made different butterflies and different moths for different crops, different plants. Right? Some come to my cabbage, some come to my tomatoes, some come to my chilies. So when the problem is, when I have only one kind of chili plant which I am growing in my rooftop, then it is a party for the moths or the butterflies, right? As butterfly, we love them. We want to make beautiful herbal gardens for butterflies. But when their babies eat the fruit or they share food with us, we Homo sapiens become so selfish and we try to kill them and we try to chase them away. The best thing is balancing. Diversity is something which is very important. Even your small garden has to be diverse with the local food. You get different. It is not only getting one food in big quantity is not your nutrition. Small amount of different, very local crops is the most immunity building food for you. Those are the most immunity building food for you. So we have to think about how the small space we diverse it, and I suggest you to go for the local crops, because genetically modified, we can give you some kind of relief that, okay, I am out of the pest problem. I'm getting more tomatoes in one plant. But in the long race, is it healthy for you? Is it healthy for the whole family? Is it healthy for the environment? We just have to, it's not only the food or the money. It has to be, we have to think about how it is beneficial to the whole environment also. And most importantly, me as a person, and what I want to feed my children actually, what I want to feed my children. It is my grandma's beautiful recipe who made me resist, like it gave me some resistance to virus like COVID. Right? Thankfully, we had some grandma's recipe. And if it goes more factory food, and now though I'm as a farmer, when you talk about this genetically modified and all, and this whole cash crops, I am in a fear, because I am looking at how this very low cost palm oil being pushed into my northeast. I have been asked to remove the bamboos and grow only palm oil. And then we in the northeast who can give you all the healthy food, now we'll be giving you the lowest quality of oil, which you say ki nahi bahar pe khana mat khao, ye oil acha nahi hai, right? So it is only not only thinking about how much production or this crop is giving me all guard against the insect or pest. Insect, we can manage them. There are manageable things. Diversifying. When God gives you the problem, He gives you the solution also. If you're growing for example, if you're growing a chili plant, you will see nearby a grass grows. If we talk about the azaratum also, it grows. Just bring some leaves, boil it in water, sprinkle it in your plant. The moth will not like to eat that. So it will not lay the egg, the larva will not come. Your crop is safe. There are ways to do that, how we save the crop. But it is not giving our whole thing. Because by becoming dependent on the GMOs, by becoming dependent on the corporate food, actually farmers like me, we are small farmers, you are selling us to them. We cannot be independent. My wife has to take loans from microfinance. I have to take loan. I have to grow this big field. I have to buy a tractor for 7.5 lakhs rupees. Half is subsidized, half is my bank loan. I grow the whole crop in one go and I search for the market. Give me the market. If it is okay, GMOs are so good. I grow GMOs, but I cry for the market. People say food, we cannot feed the big population growing up. But we farmers cry because we cannot sell our products. We don't get price. There is a mismatch. We have to look at that. So yeah, start with your grandma's recipe, all the crops you have, you'll have a beautiful life.
So your idea of Vikram, your idea of diversification crops is definitely could solve many issues of pest management, because diversifying would create a natural mimic a natural environment to minimize pest. But when my question was, because if I start with few and there are few crops, and then I can't let pest eat my food, because if they eat, then I won't be eating it. So therefore, that was my point key. And also convincing people about going because organic also consume more land per production of a kg of food, and whereas GMO produce much more of food in the limited amount of time. So that way you are also impacting less on the environment by going GMO, because that uses a lot of the major reason for environmental hazard or environmental destruction is uses of large amount of land for agriculture use, because that cut out the forest places. But if you use organic, you would be requiring more land. You would use less pesticide or chemicals as such, but you would be requiring more land. The land is in urban farming scenario, land is the major concern for us, or a major constraint for us going for that farming.
Yeah, that is so understandable. I understand your point. I understand your point, right? But what I am trying to prove is, yeah, we know this, but the thing is that what we have to think about when you talk about land going less is also we coming out of the practice of growing food. How many farmers are left? How many farmer child dreams to be farmer? Right? How many of them are left? So the production base is already going less. So when you talk about urban farming, I feel that urban farming, so that's why I gave you this suggestion also. Urban farming should not constrict, because already we have less land now. So we don't have to constrict only to the urban spaces. You living in the urban space can go to the villages. There are so many small marginal farmers, tribal farmers, they have got their land. It is not utilized. It is utilized by some contract farming companies now, right? Like I was talking about the palm oil happening here now, right? So you can be very conscious citizen. You can be somebody who would, because we realize that, okay, whatever Samir is telling is right for the humanity. But what is the problem is how we can save. We cannot go this. There is a risk, right? And we don't have so much of land. So the other option is going to the village. Just, I don't say adopt, but I say that befriend. We befriend small farmers, increase the land, keep their kids in farming, motivate, create social enterprise. You people like you have to create social enterprises, community enterprises, and take those products into the market as wellness food industry. I told you it is $500 billion market, right? Like the bathua, which we don't, it grows by itself. Fiddlehead Farm, it grows by itself. Highest protein content next to soybean. God is still growing it. No farmers grows that. It is growing wild. So those kind of crops, you as social enterprise has to befriend many farmers, create community enterprises, Rather than this whole GMO companies or Monsanto or the buyer coming together, it has to be before. Who has to go to the village? Who has to make them grow this beautiful food and come here? And in the small spaces, you can manage the pace. I told you, just for me, whenever we have some like we have some homestead gardens in the urban areas, whenever we have so much of problems of insects, one is diversification, we do more cropping. Second is just we pluck 5 types of leaves in the wild which are not eaten by cows and goats. It's not again making neem into a big industry. It's like 5 kinds of leaves which are not eaten by cows and goats. I bring them 1 kg, 5 liters of water. I boil it in 5 liters of water. When the water becomes half, 2.5 liters, cool it, mix 3 times water, just sprinkle over the crop. The insect is not coming there. They love to have the sap, which they taste good. But if you mix the sap with some bitter or some kind of leaves, which the indicators are the cows and goats, so they don't, the insects also don't eat that, they go away. We can manage them. We can do companion crops, we can do trap crops. There are solutions. Organic farming has also brought so much of solutions which we can do. And it is very manageable in the small thing. It is sometimes the challenge might be in big farms in the villages. But in urban spaces, it is very manageable. But for the small insects, big creatures like us human beings, I don't want to give it up to the companies to bring in all the GMOs and the seeds which we cannot produce our own seed, we cannot keep our own seed. Food, I don't think whether it is healthy or not, but yeah, it is only eating sake, we eat it. This is not, I dream my kids to be, I don't dream young people like you to be eating those food, which is not actually nature's creation. We farmer can just assist, nature has to create. Right? Scientists like you can assist, you can co-create with the farmers, but we cannot create plants. We cannot do that. If we do that also, we have to think about how we don't disbalance the nature. Right? So I understand your confusion. This is a big confusion. Wherever you go, like I told you, whenever I go to a national seminar, I got confused. Sometimes I just sit like this because this is a tug of war between thoughts, right? But when I come back to my forest and when I go to my farmers and when I work with my children, I feel like that I'm doing something which is good for my mother earth, which is good for my family, which is good for the kids, is good for the consumers I sell produce. So this is good for the environment. And I cannot think of growing a food forest where I grow a genetically modified food. And I don't know what happens to an elephant when it comes at night and eats the genetically modified food. It might be modified and it might be more furious. Yeah, I don't know about that, right? So there is something which is never-ending discussion, but I think the action is very important. I invite you to this place, build up your confidence, see how we are feeding a big population, how the people are growing their own food and doing it. So let's do it. Tomorrow morning also, I'm going to a very posh urban school in Guwahati city to just make them learn about how to make seed balls, how to grow their own food. At least one plant, the fruit you like most. Because many young people come to my place that I'm 25 years old. Sir, मैंने तो वो environment में class 5 में लगाया था. 20 years. Young people like you have not planted the local fruit you have liked. This is something very dangerous for humanity. And we have to think about how we do it.
Great, yeah. I think, Samir, there was one last question on the, I think, Samira, you were curious about how the seed balls are made. Is that, yeah?
Yeah, right. We had
Yes.
tried it, but I would like to know once.
Okay, Samira. I have tried a lot and different kinds of techniques, how it goes. Now the final thing where we get so much of beautiful germination is what we do is we take some red soil,
Right.
and then we take some compost. And I told you about like making some bamboo biochar fertilizer. We also mix some biochar fertilizer.
Yes, I do make that. Yes.
Yeah. So we mix them together, and we collect those seeds which are very local, and then mainly the agroforestry trees which grows by themselves. For example, gulmohar grows very nicely,
Mm.
right? Albizia grows very nicely. Banyan trees grow. The seeds are also very small. When you mix it, you can just mix it with the whole mixture, and it grows very nicely. Only thing is how you make the ball.
Right.
I feel that we make it inside. Whenever I ask the students and the young people to do it, it is something I think love is something which you have to put, right? For that to go in the forest and do it. So you have to very much in touch with that. Water content is something which is very important. How much of water we do to make the ball.
Mm.
So the moisture level is also important. Now we cut some small pieces of leaves. It might be paddy straw, and we mix it together so the germination or the seed is more padded. And then we make it into a ball and we throw it. Rainy season, throwing it, or even in winter, we throw it very early morning, around 4 a.m., when water is there. And we don't throw it into very open area. When there are grasses, we saw that germination is more. So what now we are doing, Samira, is like sometimes we are also trying to make this whole. We have many mining areas in the northeast.
Mm.
So we are trying to rejuvenate these mining areas. So what I have done now is we have mixed some herbs, like we mix some sesame also, seeds which grow very nicely. So there will be a tree inside the seed, and also some sesame and other small trees, small shrubs or herbs, which we mix it. So the herbs grow fast. The main tree they get a atmosphere where
Anchor,
again
like,
they grow nicely.
okay.
So following the birds, looking at the birds, how they do in my forest. So trying to mimic them, and we are developing this. Another thing which I found in Sidbom is like when you make it like kachuris,
Hmm.
like you make the mud ball first,
Ah.
then make a hole, then mix the seed with the compost and put the compost inside and then pack it. This is also something where the germination percentage is more.
Usually the seed ball cracks. That is the problem.
Yeah. Seed ball cracks. So that's why I told you the red soil and the compost mix has to be like if we give one handful of if we give like 2 handfuls of red soil, we give 1 handful of compost and a little bit of biochar. We mix it. Not cracking. We use some paddy straw. We cut it very small pieces and we mix it in the mixture, which also helps in not cracking the.
Actually, Samir, I think this is a question that we have received from a few other people who want to do it at some smaller scale. Samira also, she's part of a really nice urban terrace farming she has done in the school. So they had tried it with their students. If you have maybe some sort of a recipe or some, maybe we can share it with like the members. If there's anything written, I think that might be really helpful. A rough ratio or some pictures. I think we would love to maybe even print it in the handbook that we are planning. So how to make seed balls. So that might be a nice way to.
Deborah, this online thing is taking us everywhere, right? So I'm very bad in documentation. I do it in the farm. We practice it, but we need people like you to document and all.
I'm happy to. Yeah. We'll definitely take it up. Maybe we can.
Amrita and Deborah, I need interns from you also to just document because I'm very bad.
Sure. That would be something that we would be happy.
We can do a session on this seed bombing, like live session where we demonstrate how we make it different kind, and the people who are interested can be a part of it.
Sure.
Surely this needs a lot of practice, I suppose. Without practice, this is not going to work very well.
Yeah. That is something. That's why I told you that passion and that love.
Love and what you said is right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah. Thank you so much for such an engaging session, and I think your passion and your the commitment that you have really is very evident in terms of your entire journey and your learnings, and I think it has given us a lot to think about, and it definitely inspires all of us to try and do something in our environment and our localities and start somewhere. So I am especially thankful to Prutha for popularizing and their active engagement with the event, and of course Amrita and all the other participants who made it and have stayed till the end, because I think there is just no end to the discussions, and the good thing would be if we could just all immediately book tickets and come there. So we'll think about that as well at some point. So yeah, so thank you so much, Samir, and we hope to stay in touch and definitely document some of the practices that you have been involved in.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Samir. Yeah. And actually, a lot of the participants are students here. So your, the Green Commando has already spread because of your, your lovely conversations, and especially, some of the things that, are common questions in our minds and the students' minds about, what we learn as part of the curriculum. You've helped to dispel some of that for sure. So I think, I think more hands-on sessions maybe at places like yours, or going to a nearby village would be maybe the best way to take this forward.
I invite you all. I invite you all to this place. You can just experience it, and it will be more fruitful, right? Where we build our confidence to make a beautiful world.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll be ending.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you everybody else for attending. And the talk will be made available online. We can send out, Deborah, I think once we have the video and once it's edited, maybe minimally, we can send it out to the group of participants.
Sure.
And maybe feel free to popularize it among your circuits so that the word spreads out more. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.